just levels to it. And I think the moment you get to ego is the moment you stop growing, because you feel like you beat the level, but you just keep repeating the level rather than moving up, because there is a harder boss and they just haven't faced it yet.
Everyone who's young has got time to make money. You know, I don't think people are aware of how much time they have, but they've got to start. You can't keep asking for advice and not taking action, all right? Because where's it going to get you? You can read 100 books, but if you don't take action, what's the point in reading all those books? No point. You know, so action is the thing, isn't it? You know, the answer to most people's questions is take action, do something, have a go.
Wax people's legs. And it's the feedback loop and being open to learning. So I'm a real believer of hands-on training. Of course, I never had a business school training, so I don't know, I can't compare and contrast. But I know that the confidence that comes with learning and perfecting a skill and being able to do it yourself, so that if, for instance, some member of your team up and leaves, you can take over that and do that. There's a real confidence in it, and that confidence kind of allows you to grow and to put more things underneath you and to feel, I think, more generous with your spirit. So just rolling your sleeves up and learning skills, as many as you can, and looking without defensiveness at the feedback that you're getting from whatever it is that you're doing. And then always asking yourself, how can I improve this? How can I make this even better? Is this the kind of feedback that I'm trying to get?
Again, generous people are just more fun to do stuff with.
They're more attractive, they're more fun.
They're more attractive, and you just end up having opportunities come. I mean, think about it in a simplistic way. Let's say you were a leader in an organization and you had two people working for you vying for a promotion. And obviously, what are we going to do here? One's the selfish, look like he's weaned on a pickle, you know, and the other lady she's generous and she's kind. She's always stepping outside of her own job description and helping someone else get the project done and not taking credit for it. Who gets the promotion? Of course. And it's not because, you're somehow beholden to her for that. It's just, that's who I want to work with every day.
People with good attitude,
That's who I want beside me. I don't want Mr. Weaned on a pickle hanging out. I don't want to hang out with this guy.
And there's 9 of you on the start line at the Olympic Games. All of those athletes have trained hard. They're all in amazing shape. They're all super fit. They're all, strong. They're, physically, there's not a huge amount of difference between those 9. Think about a 100-meter sprint at the Olympic Games. There's not a lot of difference between them. What is it that makes one of them win on the day? And it's often not the strongest, fastest, fittest who wins on the day. It's the one who's the strongest up here. And I really believe that this is often what stops people from fulfilling their potential. And that's what I love helping people with now. Yeah, absolutely. Their mental game is what stops people from being the best they can be.
Of indigestion, not starvation. And so they overeat, they're not starving. It's the entrepreneur that get reinforced for changing direction, because nothing worked. You change direction, something clicks. And so what happens is you learn a lesson from that. You're like, oh, so if I change direction, good things happen. The higher up in business you get, the more attractive the opportunities that you have to learn to say no to. And this has been really hard for me, because at every level, like I thought, great, I can check the box on distractions. I've learned to say no to $10,000 opportunities. But then when you're making $100,000, then you have to be able to say no to $100,000 opportunities. That's why having like some of the soft stuff of like, this is the vision, this is what we're trying to do, and there's 100 other things I could do, but each of the cost of those things is the one thing that matters most. And it's very classic new entrepreneur to just say yes to everything. Warren Buffett said that the difference between really successful people and the most successful people, this is me paraphrasing, is that the most successful people say no to almost everything.
And you letting them know that you won't accept the money, but you will review it if you like it.
Yeah, so a lot of the emails I get are actually, would you like to do a paid review?
Yeah.
And I can't, with an honest conscience, say yes to a paid review, because it's a contradiction. A review is a piece that is meant to end with a recommendation. You should buy this or you shouldn't buy this. And having taken money for that piece,
you can't be objective.
No, I can't be objective. So what I think is the right way is I will take on sponsorship if it is if I don't have to be conclusive about it, if I can be completely genuine about it, like Huel, for example. I do sponsorships with Huel, but that is because I was drinking Huel before Huel reached out to me. So they actually spotted me wearing a Huel t-shirt in one of my videos, and they're like, oh, okay, this guy, he likes it already. Would you like to talk about us? And I said, yeah.
And I said, so what are you up to? And he said, oh, I'm designing costumes for Wynton Marsalis, and I've been on tour with Celine Dion. And I said, Emilio, what happened? And he said, you know what? I woke up one day and I just thought, I am worthy. And that was it, right? Like that was a moment it moved for him. He just had to decide that he was talented and worthy of all of this success. And then he had it. And I think it's the same for so many people, that they just aren't convinced. Now, you might just be born convinced, right? And they don't necessarily have the experience or the merit to back it up. And then there's some people who've just worked for it. And after you do that much work and you are, your expertise is at a level where you actually are convinced because
you've got evidence.
You've got evidence. And then there's when you're on the cusp, right? Where you just have to decide so that you can get more practice to become that one. But at some point, you're on that fence, you got to decide. And then you take yourself there.
There's something about person, work, fit. Person, work, fit. This job has some big bits of it that fit me. Now, who me is variable, of course, but is this job in any way an alien job to me, or is it actually part of me? When you have that in any job, we were talking before about the first job I ever studied was housekeepers, where we think, housekeepers, stupid job. I mean, I bet they all just want to get out of it as quickly as they can. But you study the world's best housekeepers and you're like, oh my word, there are some people that love certain aspects of that role. Any role done at excellence has got a lot of love in it. And every role done averagely is loveless. If you have loveless work, you're a worse worker. We now know all sorts of biochemical reasons why that's so, but it just kept showing up in survey after survey after survey. Work you fit, however you want to talk about that, is huge. Which is why, of course, I'm sure when you built your company, you realized this. Teams are everything. Teams are everything because they make homes for unique individuals. And you can start going, well, you're all weird, but you do this and you do this and you do this and you do this. And lo and behold, the team's well-rounded precisely because each person on it isn't well-rounded. And then the team leader, of course, can be really creative about, well, which bit of it do you love? And can we get you to do a bit more of that? And then you can lean into this person who weirdly loves balancing the books, but you hate it. Well, that's interesting. They love Excel, you love PowerPoint. Okay, well, that's it. That's a team. And so that's all about person, work, fit.
You mentioned a fear of failure, so I'm going to be controversial. There's no such thing in my book as a fear of failure. What we're really saying, and it's really important, the subtlety, as you said before about language, your fear isn't failure, it's fear of not being able to deal with the consequences of failure. Now, that might sound the same thing, but it isn't, because if you fear failure, there's nothing you can do with that, because it could happen. So you're stuck with fearing failure. Whereas if you say, I fear the consequences of failure, not being able to deal with them, now you can do something, because we can look at the consequences and address them and get people to be able to say, I can deal with it. Whatever happens, I can deal with it. So the fear of not actually succeeding disappears because they've got this. I'm aware, I've got a plan.
And so the infinite frame always conquers the finite. And the thing is that most of the games worth playing are infinite. And so if you were trying to get in shape, you don't win getting in shape. The point is to stay in shape for the rest of your life. You don't win at marriage. The point is to stay married. You don't win at business. The point is to stay in business and keep doing business. And the point of the game is to keep playing. And I think and I would imagine success, if you put all of those things together, it's an infinite game. And so the point of success is to do the things that make you successful. And so if you're doing the things that are making you successful, then you are by definition winning. And I think that for me, redefining what is a perfect day and living as many of those days in a row as I possibly can, to me, that's winning.
Wealthy people do three things, man. They stop trading time for money. They make their money work for them. And they give as much value to people as they can. The reason why you give people so much value is because if you give them so much value, they'll never leave you. They'll always be there for you. And you will never need for anything as long as you give value to people.
I do advocate people sit on the end of the bed when they get up and say, let's just reset and get some perspective before I begin my day. Because what you're doing is you're actually saying to your computer system, this day is going to be good. So you've added a lot of underwritten beliefs now, which are things like, I'm going to make the most of it. I have no intention of dwelling on misery. I have no intention of being negative. There's lots of things you've said in that one statement potentially, and you've primed your computer with that. So when you go downstairs then and you get a letter on the doorstep that's got a bill, your chimp will immediately go to react, but it has to look to the computer. And if you've already said it's going to be a good day, it will remind the chimp. There's no point in stressing. It's going to be a good day. And it can therefore be scientifically accurate that your chimp will stop. And that gives you a human chance to go, it's only a bill.